So you've got snails in your aquarium and you want to know whether they're good or bad. Well, stick around and let's have a look and see what's going on in your aquarium and what you need to do with those snails. Hey, my name's Josh and this is the Aquamate channel. Thank you very much for joining me. We have a look at a whole bunch of different aquarium things on this channel. So if you're into fish, and at the moment you might have some pesky snails, hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. And let's see what we can do about these snails. All right, so firstly we want to kind of think, all right, I've set up this tank, got these beautiful plants, I've got my new fish, and there's a little dot on the glass. There's a little dot on the glass. What is that? It's a snail. And you think, hang on, I didn't get snails. Why have I got snails in my tank? Probably more often than not, snails are a freebie when you're buying live plants, or sometimes some hardscape materials like rocks and wood. They're epic little stowaway creatures, meaning that you didn't even intend to have them there in the first place, and the aquarium probably didn't intend to give them to you on purpose or anything like that. The three most common type of snails you might be finding in this situation are bladder snails, Malaysian trumpet snails, and ram's horn snails, commonly grouped together as pest snails. Now you also might be thinking, oh, I've got one or two snails, that's not a problem, right? A lot of these snails are asexual, meaning they can reproduce with themselves. So you could have one snail and effectively it's cloning itself all over your tank. You'll find little tiny sort of things stuck on the glass or sometimes stuck on the plants with little dots, and you'll think, what's that? And it could be, you know, a dozen or 20 sort of tiny little snail eggs. And then eventually they go off and then they do the same thing. So it can become a real issue if you don't like snails very quickly. Now these snails can live anywhere between 1 to 3.5, 4 years, depending on the species. And it can be 30 to 40 days before a baby snail is then ready to reproduce on its own. So it's something that will escalate pretty quick, and if you don't like it, what are you gonna do about it? There's a couple things you can do to try and remove snails. So firstly, you gotta understand what they're doing in there and why they're thriving. So the good thing about snails is they're detritivores. Basically, they eat decaying matter. So if you've got plants that are dying, they will slowly eat away at the dead leaves. Contrary to what some people think, they won't eat healthy plants. So that's a good thing for your aquarium. They're helping clean up. They'll also help break down any uneaten fish food and detritus and all that sort of thing. So they're kind of a cleanup crew. And yeah, they can be pretty handy. Now, if you want to remove them, you got to think of some of those things. Am I overfeeding my tank? Is that why I'm getting so many snails? Are you not doing enough maintenance on your tank? Are you not doing enough gravel vacs? Or are you not cleaning the algae off the glass? Because that's going to be another food source for them. Then you can sort of get into a few different ways of actually removing them because you've had enough. You can buy little snail traps to try and get a whole group of them in there and pull them out as you catch them in this little trap. A really common method would be to put some green vegetables like cucumber or zucchini or whatever onto a fork, put it into the tank. The snails love that stuff. They'll all come over it. After about an hour or two later, you'll end up with heaps and heaps of snails. You just remove the vegetable and hey, you've lowered your snail population. Probably a more extreme way is to try and get some predators in there. So you can get things like assassin snails, which are carnivorous. They're going to hunt other snails. And some fish like some loaches and puffers love eating snails. Now on those fronts, you do want to be really careful. In a small little tank, obviously some of those fish or assassin snails can cause some big problems. So make sure you do your research before you try that method. In closing, I think I've answered your question. Snails are really good for your aquarium. They're part of the ecosystem. They're going to help you look after and maintain your tank and get rid of a lot of that detritus and dead debris that you don't want floating around your tank. If you're still thinking I don't like them, at least there's a few tips for you to be able to remove them safely. They're not for everybody, and really I think it's just an aesthetic thing that people just don't like seeing them on the glass when they're looking into their aquarium. There you go guys, thank you very much for joining me. I hope that helped you guys a lot. I know there's a lot of questions to be had when it comes to setting up your aquarium and when things go a little bit funny. I've got a couple videos on planaria and detritus worms as well, so check them out on the channel. I'll leave some cards while I'm talking now. I can never get the right side. And yeah, if you're new, hit the subscribe button for me. It really helps me out. I will see you guys next week when we finally get to stock that Nintendo fish tank. So I'm really, really excited to share that one with you. Until then, I will see you soon.